What's up everyone, how's it going? So the lead hero designer for Star Wars Battlefront 2 has been actually pretty active on Twitter lately, and as well as he's also made a lot of changes to the heroes, a lot of buffs and a lot of nerfs and some ability fixes. With the last update, we actually got a really good fix for Grievous, so all three of his abilities work properly now from what I have seen. And so in today's video, I thought it'd be a good idea to just go over my top changes that I would love to see come to the heroes of Star Wars Battlefront 2, and I also actually ask you guys over on Twitter to give me some ideas, see if you guys have anything. You guys listed a bunch of ideas, and as well as a Star Bazaar, he actually was talking about Leia, which is the first one on this list, but Princess Leia was the #1 vote for a change for a hero's ability. So that is actually why she's on the first one on this list, and honestly, I just think her flash grenade is way too underpowered. I think it needs not just even a buff, I think it needs to be replaced with something so much more powerful, and my idea for that would be the thermal detonator as she uses in the Return of the Jedi movie episode 6. I think it would just make sense with her character, obviously not just because she uses it in the movie, but it would work really well as a third ability. And I think a good star card for it would be a lot like the improved thermal detonator for the assault class, where as you upgrade it, the blast radius is increased. Of course, this detonator would be a lot more powerful than the standard assault infantry one. But yeah, I just think Leia needs a bit of a buff, and I think her abilities are something that's holding her back. I'm not a huge fan of her shield. Her middle ability where she pulls out the E11 blaster, I really do like that ability. That's really fun to use. But I do think that a thermal detonator ability would be a great replacement for the flash grenade, and people have been complaining about the flash grenade for quite a while now, so hopefully they do look into changing it or at least buffing it. And the second hero that we have on this list is actually for Darth Vader. Now, if you guys know, we did recently get a big change for Darth Vader where he no longer has any damage reduction while using his Force Choke, and people were really upset about that, including myself. I didn't see why they had to remove it, but the lead hero designer actually announced that they are going to be adding in a feature for him, and that feature is actually the one that I was going to change with this list video. And that feature is actually that while he does Force Choke, he can actually walk around. So that's a feature that is going to be coming and that they are working on. But I wanted to add on to this, I would love to see him like the Battlefront 2015 Vader, where he could Force Choke, walk around, but he could also throw his lightsaber at enemies while using the Force Choke. And while you can kind of do that now, once you throw your lightsaber, the Force Choke animation just completely stops and they get let go. But I believe in the 2015 game, you could throw your lightsaber and they would still be in the choked animation. And while all these would be good changes, I still do think they should at least have about 25 to 40% damage reduction on him while he's in this animation, mainly because there's so many situations where you're so vulnerable to damage and stuff, and even if you have these kind of buffs where you can throw your lightsaber and stuff, I still don't believe it would be enough. So I am hoping that they end up doing like 25 to 40%. I think that would be a fair amount. Next up on this list, we have the most famous hero in Battlefront 2, Bossk the Lizard, and I want to change his Relby V10, I think it's called, whatever his sniper rifle is, because while it is a good weapon for long range sniping like on Geonosis when you're really far away, at medium to close quarters combat it is absolutely horrible. Now I do know he does have his grenade launcher, but that is simply an ability. So when you run out of that grenade launcher, you're going to either have to run away or you're just going to end up dying, because you know that his weapon charges up as it zooms in. So if you don't charge up the weapon at all, it does like 50 damage. I don't know how much the exact amount is, but it's very little damage, and it's like almost impossible to kill another hero with it without zooming in, and we all know how far the thing zooms in. So if you're at medium to close quarters combat and you zoom in with that sniper rifle, you are going to have a really hard time seeing the enemy because it's just so far in and it's really hard to turn around and know where they're at. So I think a good change with this to be is to actually add an option to zoom in and out, not necessarily like the normal sniper rifles in the game where you can just have two different zoom options. I would like this to be kind of a scroll wheel option, at least for the PC, where you can scroll your mouse wheel back and forth to depend on how far in and out you are zoomed. I think this would be a really great way to balance him out a little bit more in Galactic Assault, as well as Heroes vs. Villains. He's like the worst hero in that game mode, but in Galactic Assault he's pretty good, especially on maps like Geonosis and Kamino where you have large spaces. But like I said, in those close quarters combat, you pretty much can't do anything with him besides use your grenade launcher or even your Dioxis ability. Next up, this is actually one that a lot of you guys suggested, and this is actually for Boba Fett. Personally, I never really find myself using him, and it's simply because he's just not as powerful as the other characters. Maybe I am just really bad at the game, I don't know. But personally, I just find myself to never have fun with him while using him in the game. But we all know that they recently added a reticle to his main blaster rifle, which is a really good change. I'm glad they added it because before it was really hard to aim with the gun. But a lot of you guys actually also suggested that we should even add a zoom ability for him. I don't really know how they're going to do this because I believe the button to use your jetpack is the button that you would use to zoom in your weapon. But I actually think this would be a very nice buff that is needed for this character because he just got a huge nerf to his rocket barrage ability. I believe they nerfed a star card if I'm not mistaken. It's something like that. But they did nerf him quite a lot, so he's not nearly as powerful as he really should be. Now, I still have seen some people do really good with him in Galactic Assault. Personally, like I said, I'm just not good with him at all. But yeah, I do think that a change to where he can zoom in would be really useful and would make a lot of sense. I don't know how they could replace the button with the jetpack ability. I'm sure they could figure out some way. Maybe you can hold down the thumbstick or something like that. I don't know. It's just an idea, but I do agree that Boba Fett does need a big buff or something like that. And the final one on this list, this is the one that I have been requesting for months now, and this is one that I don't believe will get added to the game simply because of the difficulty it would be to actually implement this in, but it is still something that's high on my list for this game nonetheless, and that is actually for my favorite character in Star Wars Battlefront 2. That is none other than General Grievous himself, the first Clone War hero that we got in October. I'm so excited that we got him. I'm super happy they added him, but there's an ability that I really wish was added in, and that would actually be an ability to pull out all 4 arms and do extra damage while draining more stamina. So what's funny about this is I actually made an entire video talking about it. I believe it was like 5 minutes long, so I really went into detail on how it could work and why we should have this. My main reason why we should have this is simply because it's so iconic. You know, him having 4 arms is what kind of makes Grievous super special besides him being a cool looking cyborg robot. Obviously, we do have the unrelenting advance ability, which is really fun, but in my opinion, it is a little underpowered because you're so vulnerable in that. I wish he had a lot more passive damage reduction on it. But I believe this 4-arm ability could either be a 4th ability, kind of like how Anakin has it, or it could just completely replace Thrust Surge, which I would say a couple weeks ago that they need to do that. But with this recent patch, they actually fixed it, and everyone's saying it works 100% of the time, and that's what I've noticed too. So I think that ability could very well stay since they fixed it, and I believe they could add this as a 4th ability, like I said earlier. And it would just do what I said it would do, where he pulls out all 4 arms, he deals a lot extra damage, has these really awesome looking animations, but he does drain a little bit more stamina, which is another thing I wanted to talk about. I also believe that General Grievous needs a big buff in his stamina. Whenever you're blocking one Vanguard shot, destroys all of his stamina, which is honestly not good at all, and I hope it's something that they are looking into because Grievous is just a bit underwhelming right now from what a lot of people have said. He deals a lot of lightsaber damage, which is good, but like I said, his stamina is just non-existent. You know, you swing like 4, maybe 5 times, and then you're completely out and you can't do anything, and then Anakin comes along and then hits Heroic Might on you, and then you're dead. And like I said before, Grievous is my favorite hero in the game. I have a lot of fun playing as him, but I do think it was a missed opportunity to have this 4th ability or even replace Thrust Surge, like I said. But if I recall correctly, they actually did talk about making Grievous in one of the community transmissions, and they did say how hard it was to actually animate him, simply because he's so in depth and have all these little details and stuff. So I do understand why they didn't implement this. I'm sure they did try, because I remember a while ago Ben Walk actually said something about saying Grievous fighting with 4 arms is interesting. I saw a picture on my phone that I had screenshotted from like months ago, and he actually was talking about it. So that made me believe, oh yes, we are going to get a 4-arm ability, or at least he's going to use it in animation. But that was probably me way overlooking at it, like I do a lot of the devs' tweets, and it was probably him talking about unrelenting advance, or even Thrust Surge. He also uses 4 arms. But again, I would still really like this ability to be implemented. And while that is pretty much the main 5 abilities that I would like to see changed or buffed or whatever, just changes to some heroes, there are a bunch of little ones I did think of for heroes, and one of which was actually for Han Solo. And that one was for his middle ability, where he can shoot really fast, he can do a rapid fire. I really wish he was able to run while doing that. I think one of the developers actually talked about it at some point, but I'm not too sure. At least some ability where they're able to run while using it. I don't know which hero it was, but I do think that would be really good for Han Solo. Also, Lando, I do think his smoke grenade is just pretty much useless, honestly, in my opinion. I think it'd be a lot better if it was like either a bigger radius, or if they do kind of what I said with Leia, where they just completely replace that ability with something else. I don't know, just a thought. But that is pretty much going to do it for today's video, guys. I hope you did enjoy. We just got that Rise of Skywalker trailer, and honestly, I've seen it like a million times now. It is really good. I can't wait for the movie, but we are also getting content from the movie coming in December, which I'm really excited about as well. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully we do get some hints in the near future for what content is going to come. They did say that it is going to be the biggest update yet, so that is really good news because I personally love the sequels. Just my opinion. I think they're really well made, but that's beside the point of the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, be sure and leave a like, and if you're new, subscribe for more Star Wars news, gameplay, and more, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one.